Hello and welcome back to the Excurse. Today, I have Mark from the Hathway House of Horror. How are you doing, buddy?
Very well, thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, man, it's good. I obviously met you through Nick, who is
hmm
one of my podcast hosts here, doing You Know It, our 90s retrospective.
Indeed.
But he kind of turned me on to you because you're a huge horror fan.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, Nick knows everyone, right? Everyone knows Nick
Pretty
online
much.
somewhere.
I
Yeah,
think so.
but no, I am. Yeah, I'm a huge horror fan. I've been a horror guy forever, pretty much. Saw The Exorcist at, I want to say 8 or 9.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say,
Uh,
so you do written reviews on Facebook and social
I do.
media,
I
which
do.
is
Yeah.
really cool because everyone I know does audio or video. It's really cool to be able to read something, and I guess we'll get to that in a minute. But then
Sure.
you've just taken me to one of my first questions. What was
Okay.
your introduction to horror? What was your
Yeah.
introduction to horror movies?
Okay. It was The Exorcist. So I
Wonderful.
jumped in at the deep end, if you like.
Started off with
It
one
was
of
about, I
the
think,
greatest horror films ever made.
yeah, yeah. I think it was about 8 or 9. So, as a family, we didn't holiday abroad. We holidayed in the UK.
Right.
And we had caravan holidays, places like Durs and Sandy Bay, that sort of stuff. And I remember it distinctly. We went to Durs and the campsite had its own TV channel,
Okay.
which was really, like we're talking Weird Al Yankovic UHF levels here. And the caravan we had was outside of the UHF signal.
Right.
So, in an effort to appease the people staying there, the guy who owned the caravan had a VCR with just a wardrobe full of cassettes, full of tapes. And I've always been a cinephile, been a film guy forever.
Same.
So it was like Aladdin's chest. It was like, well, wow, let's have a look. And there was all sorts there. There were various levels. There was comedies, animated, and The Exorcist, and it just sort of stood out to me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch that. And my parents obviously were like, well, you probably shouldn't.
You are 8.
But yeah, one I'm 8, and 2, yeah. But anyway, over the space of the 10 days, I managed to fit it in, and yeah, I was kind of hooked from there. Now that was my introduction.
Yeah.
I didn't become all obsessed, I would say, until Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay, so
Remember that?
The Exorcist started you off, and then it
Yeah,
was Nightmare
yeah,
on
it's
Elm
just
Street that really kicked off for you because I think is your Hathaway profile picture is you and Robert England, right?
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like that was one of the greatest days of my life. To be fair, he was so lovely. It was such an incredible
I
day.
hear he's a really nice guy. Yeah.
He was so nice, honestly. We went to Birmingham for a Comic-Con, HorrorCon, and he was there
Nice.
for the day, and everyone's queuing and so on. And he didn't bring a glove, and I had my glove with me, obviously. And they said, "Has anyone got a glove?" And there was a few people put their hands up, and obviously I did. And most of the people had them. They were either like plastic toys or whatever, not the Dream Warriors replica that I've got and own so proudly. Anyway, he took it off me and he went, "Yep, that'll do." And because it was my glove he used, so the photo, my Facebook photo, that glove he's got around my shoulder is my glove. It's hanging up in my spare room upstairs.
Hmm.
And because it was my glove, they gave me some like extra pictures on the house and stuff. So I had like
Nice.
3 pictures taken in the end. Yeah, it was very cool, but really gracious, just like the nicest guy in the world.
So
Yeah.
was that Nightmare on Elm Street? The first Nightmare on Elm Street is the film that
Yeah,
started you on
that was
horror.
where I was like, okay, this is in the blood, no pun intended. So Nightmare on Elm Street, and I knew it was in the blood because it terrified me, and yet I kept going back.
Yeah.
And then it was
How old
just,
do you think you were when you saw
oh,
that?
what else? I think Nightmare on Elm Street came out in '84, so I would have been 8 then. But I wasn't. I'd seen The Exorcist prior to that, so maybe 10.
Okay.
There'd been a set period of time between. Oh right, that's what horror is, and then oh my god, this is the
Yeah.
best thing ever. So maybe 10 there or thereabouts, I guess. And then, as so many of us do in the horror community, I just went on a binge of consuming huge amounts of horror through my teens, and some people obviously grow out of it or
No,
fade away from it, and
I never
it's
did.
become no, I mean, no, exactly, it's
No.
all encompassing. I literally, Blu-rays get dropped through the door every couple of days, and I'll search out this and search out that, and my wife just sort of goes, do I need to watch this? It's probably best if you don't. She's not a horror person at all. You know, sat down one day and put on I Saw the Devil, and I said, you might want to go upstairs. This isn't going to be for you.
It's funny how
so-
certain genres people are all in with, you know? There's
exactly.
certain genres, like I feel like horror, anime, and I guess nowadays like superhero stuff as well, right? People are all in
Sure.
or not at all, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know anyone who's like, I'm kind of into horror. They're either like, no, I don't like horror, or I'm obsessed with horror. It's all I watch, you know?
Yeah.
That seems to be the way it goes. Certainly with my generation, and I guess your generation as well. I wasn't old enough, or 84. I was born in 84, so obviously didn't see Nightmare on Elm Street when it came out.
No, that'd have been impressive.
It was a video rental for me with a friend, and
Sure.
you know, but like you, it was one of the early ones I saw that really kicked me off as well. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
One of your favorite series, then, I guess, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, no, it's the pinnacle.
The
I
pinnacle.
can reckon-
Favorite
for
film
me-
of the series?
For me personally, it's the pinnacle. I recognise that they're not all great movies, believe me, but for me,
I'm a Godzilla fan. I
can't-
understand.
Yeah, well, there you go. I stick to the original. I know people go back and forth with Dream Warriors and the 84, and I get that completely.
Yeah.
As a much younger man, for quite a long period of time, my favourite was number 4.
Really? That's an interesting choice.
Now, I think the reason behind it was number 4 is, so this is a little bit trivia for you. The new New Line Cinema sprocket, the askew sprocket, the logo,
Yeah.
that didn't come in until 84. Prior to that, it was the old red blinking, blinkety, blink. Yeah. So 4 was what I call the first Hollywood nightmare. It was very slick. It was very kinetic. It was very It was very well paced. You know, Rennie Harlan can make a good movie.
I was just disappointed because the 4th one's when they kill off all of the cool kids from the last movie in the opening, right?
Mhm.
That always stuck with me as being like, oh man.
And always a year later, you have a whole new group of friends.
Yeah, of course.
That,
Yeah.
Absolutely have no concerns whatsoever.
That's all good.
Oh, your friends will die. I'll be fine. So for a long time, because it was so kinetic, and because I looked at it through that way and looked at his film had to be that way, 4 was my favorite for quite a while. And then as you get older, you start to appreciate other things, and you know, and then over time, 3 is obviously a masterpiece. But
3 is fantastic.
One's like horror homework. Like, if you know, you have to have seen it. There's certain movies that are horror royalty, and if you're an aspiring horror head, there's a few films you need to see.
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street is definitely on that list.
And that's on that list, yeah. And for me, it's the, you know, although, as I say, I can recognise that not all of them are good movies, should we say?
Sure.
For me, it's the go-to series.
What was your thoughts on the remake? Did you watch it? Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was. It's weird because I'm not averse to a remake. There's actually some very good remakes.
No, if it's good, I find there are a few good remakes in my opinion, but when they are done well, you know.
Yeah, and I wasn't massively concerned that Platinum Dunes were doing it because the Texas Chainsaw remake is decent enough. But if you're going to get it wrong in spectacular fashion, which is what they did.
Yes, that is true.
I didn't think Jackie Earle Haley was terrible.
I think he's great, actually. I don't think it's his fault.
You know, you're working with people that don't want to be there. The script was appalling, and it was just.
Yeah.
It's weird as well because the collector in me has to own that movie because it's part of
it.
So.
I've got 1998 American Godzilla purely because it's a hole in my library that I can't allow to exist. I need it. I'm never going to watch it, but it's there.
I'm the proud owner of Poltergeist 3 for that exact reason.
Yes, there you go.
I watched it, and I went and saw the cinema, hated it. I came out of it going, okay, I want to like it. What was there to like? I want to like it. There was nothing to like. And then for probably 2 years, just made myself watch it every couple of months, going, it'll grow. No, it doesn't.
No.
It's. Is it the worst remake out there? No, not entirely at all. But it's because of the material that it's taking on that it feels personal. So
yeah, fair enough.
I'm all in favour of a new one. I know there's talks going on, and I think he's a bit old now. But at the time, I was really championing Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon, he's kind of got the right voice as well, you know?
Yeah,
I can totally see him playing that.
He's got that tall, lanky sort of physique that Robert Englund had,
Mm-hmm.
or has to a degree still. He can play menacing. You know, he's made quite a few movies where he's not the nicest of people. He was downright terrifying in Hollow Man.
Yeah.
So I was a big advocate for Kevin Bacon. Or my other idea, which people think I'm crazy when I say this, is you go full thespian. And you take it as serious. You take the material as seriously as possible, and you move heaven and earth to get Daniel Day-Lewis.
That is an interesting choice.
Can you imagine a 3-hour epic? Daniel Day-Lewis starting off with Freddy as a man and going right through, almost not a full prequel, almost like a Bourne Ultimatum side by side type scenario, with Daniel Day-Lewis, I think that.
I mean, the material is dark enough.
There.
I think a lot of people forget because obviously Nightmare on Elm Street became almost a parody series by the end.
Oh yeah,
especially when you think about the Freddy's Nightmares and all the TV series and stuff. It got real goofy, and he kind of became like this weird like Hollywood icon of a character, and people forget he is a child killer. That's literally what he is in the I mean, he's not a good dude.
No, and at one point you're right, it literally became the Freddy show.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe where 4 hit home is my favorite, because he was the star. Part 4 was the first time Robert Englund was main build.
Yeah.
So he was obviously the main build there, and it just, it felt like it was all revolving around him, as opposed to up to that point where you had a cast of characters plus Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. And, as I say, one is there for me, always has been. 2 is a trip, but it's a good trip. It's a good trip.
I always remember the opening of that movie with the school bus. That's the like, that always sticks with me, that opening when it's just left on the 2 bits of the canyon that are left there.
Robert Englund driving the bus out of his makeup. Yeah.
What were your thoughts on New Nightmare?
I like it. I think
it's an interesting movie. I think it had potential to be incredible, and it just misses the mark.
I think it was the precursor to Scream.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think what lets it down is, and it does have its flaws, obviously.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna do that meta film within a film type thing, and it works, I think it works very well for the most part. I think the CG lets it down, but that's CG of the time. You can't do a lot about that.
Yeah.
You know? The demon transformation.
You might be able to fix it now, but
for sure. Yeah. If they could go back and tinker it or redo it or whatever, 100%. But that lets it down. And also, if you're gonna do Freddy in the world, why is he not chasing Robert Englund? Like, why is Robert Englund not in that film more?
That's true, because he does like the
like,
guest show. He turns up as the guest on the talk show, and he's in like a couple of scenes, but he's only really there to say like, oh, I've been having these weird dreams myself, So, but it doesn't. It doesn't really. That would have been really interesting if make Robert Englund the central character.
I mean, even if he's not the central character, you can still keep Nancy as the character, as the protagonist. But along the way, like I'm all in favor of something new, but I also want Freddy in the film. I don't think he's in it for about 48 minutes.
Yeah, well, his presence is there.
Him in and he is scarier. He is darker.
Yeah. Well, he is a demon, right? It's not actually meant to be Freddy. It's a demon in Freddy, in the guise of Freddy Krueger.
It's nowhere near the worst of the series. Not even close.
No. And it's got some great.
Ahead of its time.
Yeah, and it's got some great moments as well. I love towards the end where the lines are starting to get blurred between what's her in real life and then what's like what's Heather and what's Nancy and with the bit with her father and stuff when he stops becoming the actor and he's actually becoming the father, and it's great. All of that stuff's fantastic.
John Saxon calls her Nancy, doesn't he? He starts calling her Nancy towards the end instead of Heather. But also the kid's phenomenal in it. Mika Hughes is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like the scene when he's trying to reach God, all right, it's a complete rip from The Omen, but the kid's been in 2 horror movies I'm aware of, and he's phenomenal in both. I mean, he's a grown man obviously now, but I don't know what happened to his career along the way, because
some kids just don't,
No, obviously he was Gage in the Pet Sematary movie, the original, and then and then obviously New Nightmare, and he's phenomenal in both those films.
He's probably I'd have to go back and rewatch Pet Sematary to really say for sure nowadays, because it's been a long time since I saw it. But in my mind, he is the scariest kid ever. Like when he comes back, he is terrifying. Like he's properly creepy in that movie.
When he takes Fred Gwynn's Achilles out of it. Yeah. Oh, even now to this day, it's just like wow. But no, so yeah, I like New Nightmare. I know some people are very indifferent with it, because, well, I mean, I don't know. I may be telling you stuff you already know, but New Nightmare was only made because Wes Craven wanted a financial evening out, shall we say, of money he felt he was owed from the rest of the series.
Yeah.
So him and Bob Shaye had a huge falling out, and then Freddy versus Jason was supposed to have been made, but Wes said he wouldn't be involved in any way, shape, or form unless they let him make his magnum opus, if you like, in New Nightmare, and they sorted out a financial background, which they did, fair enough. But in the flip side of that is because we then had to wait, Sean Cunningham was getting frustrated, and that's why we got Jason X.
Yes,
because the plan was you had to keep Jason in the public eye somehow. So, what do? They all go to space eventually.
They do eventually all go to space.
Apart from Freddy, they all go to space eventually.
Well, he hasn't gone there yet, but
no,
there's still time.
I'll take it at this point. I'd take it if they said a new one's coming out in next year and it's going to start in space. I'd still be there opening night. I'd take it.
I mean, Jason X is a terrible movie, but it is kind of like, I don't know. This series was so ridiculous at that point. It was like, what else are you gonna do? Right? Like, why not? You know.
I mean, once you've been to Manhattan, once you've allegedly been to Manhattan, when
for 5 minutes,
once you've been on a boat for an hour and 20 minutes, effectively, and killed Kelly Hugh, then. And that made no money. That movie, that was the end. Like Paramount couldn't get rid of the rights quick enough after that. Like, they were very protective over it for years, and then they were like, "No, it's over." So from there, where else do you go?
That's it. Like, where do you go from there? Like, put him in space. Why not?
And the reality is that film is cheap. I know it made a lot of money, but it didn't cost a lot of money either.
No,
it is a Sci-Fi Channel movie.
Yeah, sci-fi.
Full on
sci-fi. Yeah.
And then you've got Jason Goes to Hell, which is bonkers. Absolutely bonkers.
I don't even know what that movie is trying to do.
I consume all this stuff at an alarming rate, I guess. I started the page in March of this year, following a pretty consistent time reviewing for horror groups and gaining some traction. So that was March.
So you started off writing for other pages and posting on other pages.
So always been the fan, always been the horror fan. And I joined a couple of groups via friends of friends on Facebook and so on. And I was probably writing for other groups, not to the extent my reviews are now. There's a lot more work involved, but I was doing a snapshot version, if you like, of that for probably about a year. And it got to the point where I was putting up choices. I put up 2 posters and say, what do you want? What would you like reviewed next? Thinking, well, let's see who's actually paying attention. And it got to the point where I was getting sort of 600-700 votes. So I was like, okay, this could be something a little bit more than this now.
Pretty good engagement, yeah.
Yeah, right? So I then launched the Hathway House of Horror, and that was in March. And barring the odd week here or there due to technical issues or something along those lines, it's been going full speed ever since. So I do all sorts of, I take requests, I do latest releases, I do classics. I did a list of the best movies from last year at one point. The big thing that gets the most interaction is the whole series retrospectives.
You've been doing a bunch of those. Yes. I mean, you got 2 on the go at the moment. You've got Maniac Cop and you've got Evil Dead on the go at the moment,
Mate, I've got Evil Dead on the go at the moment.
Yeah.
I announced Maniac Cop as the next one.
Oh, okay. So Maniac Cop is going to be after you finished Evil
correct,
Dead.
Yeah. So I've got plus I've got a few requests to do here and there, and Nick had a few requests at one point when I was first getting going. My review of Near Dark was requested by Nick.
I love Near Dark. It's a great movie.
It's so good, and to watch it through a reviewer's eyes, if you like.
It's different, isn't it?
It's a very different animal, yeah.
On the Movies Made Us Do It, we do, obviously I watch movies just in the week and then we review them anyway. But it's different when you're going back and watching a movie you've seen like 1,000 times before, but you're going back and you're like, no, now I'm watching it from the perspective of I'm going to review it.
Yeah.
It's a very different experience. It's interesting.
It is, because ultimately, and especially if it's older stuff, which at the moment is predominantly my wheelhouse. A lot of 80s, a lot of retrospectives, and that wasn't the plan. There wasn't a plan as such. It was just, I love horror, I'm going to write about it. That was it. That was the entire plan for the page. And if I had one follower, I had one follower, and that was it. I think I've got about 820 at this point, so it's done well. The traction is really there. And I think because it is a written review, like you say, it's something different. And I have my own style and my own scoring system and so on. So, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. So everything you see, if you're just watching it as a fan, everything's great, right? It's the best thing ever because you're a fan. But when you're watching it through a reviewer's eyes and you're looking for certain elements of it, and then at the end of it you go, I love this film, but it ain't the best.
Yeah.
And then you have to, like Evil Dead 1. I literally on the end of my review for Evil Dead Part 1, I was like, I'm about to upset at least half of you. This film's great. It's horror royalty, but he will do so much better in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
It's renegade movie making at its finest.
Yes.
Is it the most accomplished movie? No. It's not. It's a 3 out of 5 movie.
But you can see where it sets the foundation, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's always interesting going back and looking at early works. Like you look at Peter Jackson, you look at stuff like Brain Dead, right?
Yeah.
Or Bad Taste. You can go and watch Bad Taste, and there are certain things in Bad Taste that I find the way the camera moves sometimes, kind of some of those panning shots, you're like, yeah, that's Lord of the Rings. I can see see it in there. It's super low budget and obviously not on the same level, anywhere near the kind of quality we would see from, even the Frighteners or anything else that he did later on. But that you can see the seeds, and that's the thing with Evil Dead. You can see the seeds of what he will do later.
Even now, to this day, it doesn't matter what genre it is, no matter what you're doing, you can tell a Sam Raimi movie within about 2 minutes.
Even when it's a Marvel movie and it's terrible, you can still be like, oh, but there's a nice Raimi shot. There's some Raimi shots in there.
Raimi made this. So, obviously, I then gave the movie the review I gave it, and people were like, this changed horror for everyone. And I was like, I'm sure it did, and I'm really glad it for you that's the case. But no one's going to want to read me say that everything I watch is 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 5. It's not the case.
And that's not the reason you're doing it.
That's not why you do it. No, exactly. That makes very little sense. I mean, prior to the page, the last retrospective series I did prior to launching the page was the Hellraiser series. And I am going to redo it and submit it to the page just because I'm a bit more confident and I work a certain way now.
Sure.
But there's 11 of those movies.
Yes.
And maybe 3 are good. Like out and out good.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I'd agree.
Two for sure. 2 for sure are good. 1 and 2 are great. I stand by that. After that, it goes down to personal taste. I know a lot of people like 3. I personally can't stand 3. I think Bloodline's decent enough. The 4th one,
I like Bloodlines.
They go to space.
I think I would say that the one thing with the Hellraiser series for me is I struggle to think of any of them that didn't have something cool. Even and it becomes it's diminishing returns to where towards the end you're like, there's like one cool thing in this entire movie, but there is something in every movie.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And also as well, once you get past that original quadrilogy, if you like, that 4, which seems to be its own dense sort of story path. After that, if you go back and look at the posters or the boxes or whatever, and it's literally just Pinhead on a cover but in a different color backlit.
Yeah, pretty much.
It gets to the point where you don't even know which one you're watching.
No.
It's like, Hellseeker's like got a red backlight, but then Hellworld's got a blue backlight. Wow, have I seen this or have I not? And then, it goes on. I don't mind the later ones. I mean, Revelations may well be the worst movie I've ever seen. I'll stand by that. Partly because it was so poorly made. No one wants
that one was
Hellraiser movie.
That one was purely a licensing thing, though, wasn't it? They just wanted to keep the license and just made crap.
Exactly that, Judgment isn't for everyone. It's pretty gross, to be fair. It's very much gross out horror, but if you can handle it, it's not the worst one. And I didn't mind the Hulu reinterpretation. I
enjoyed it a lot, actually. I thought it was actually a really solid.
I didn't mind it.
As far as reimaginings go, and it could still kind of link in a way. It's not exclusive or any. Well, I mean, I guess the biggest difference is they change the way it all works. Because now it's based on blood and it's all of this kind of stuff. So they do kind of change it, but I liked that. As far as a reimagining goes, I was really impressed with that. It was one of those movies when it started, I was like, apart from there was the gay couple, apart from them, I hated everybody at the start of that movie. I was like, I like those two.
Yeah.
Everyone else can just fuck off.
Literally,
but she won me over. By the end of the movie,
did she really?
I liked it because the reason she won me over is because she started making sensible decisions towards the end of the movie. And I was like, good. I turned to my friend and I said, why doesn't she just do this? And then she would do it. I was like, okay, she's making sense now,
Yeah. I agree. I didn't mind it whatsoever.
No,
I thought it was
good.
pretty decent. I don't know if I'd say she won me over, but I didn't hate her as such. I mean, you can't not like her to begin with because the scene opens with her using her brother's bed for certain things. I'm pretty sure it's that.
Struggling to remember now.
Yeah, she's
a drug addict. Right?
Yeah, she's living with her brother and his partner, isn't she?
Yeah.
And the opening scene is her and the guy who she breaks in to get the from going out in their what I assume is his bed. So straight away she's not gonna be your favorite person in the world.
No.
But no, didn't hate it. I mean, it's
on the scale of remakes.
It's easily the second or third best made Hellraiser movie.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's probably the third/fourth best one completely.
Yeah.
That's the levels that no other horror icon has been done as dirty as Pinhead. None, not one. Not even. I mean, I've reviewed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre retrospective, the whole lot, and some of those are a trip to say the least. I still don't think Leatherface gets done as dirty as Pinhead.
No, I'd agree. I would agree with that. I actually really like. I like Texas Chainsaw 2 and 3. I quite enjoy those.
I love
two.
4. I love 4.
4. See, there's a lot of good in those series. The one, to be honest, the one I hate the most is the latest one they did. I really hated that one, but that was just me. I don't know.
Oh, I hated the sequel to the remake.
Oh, that wasn't great.
And I hated the one. I think it was just called Leatherface.
The 3D one.
They were off to Vietnam or something. The two brothers.
Oh yeah.
And Stephen Dorff was in it, I think.
I vaguely remember.
It was god awful. I didn't mind the 3D one. I'll be honest. It was what it was. I mean, the opening was terrible. The end was terrible. But the section in the middle where he's like stalking them through the house.
Yeah.
Was actually pretty well done.
It's got its moments.
Yeah, it's pretty well done. Yeah. But no, I don't think I could be wrong. But if you're looking at the true horror royalty, I don't think anyone's been done as dirty as Pinhead over 11 movies.
No, I think you might be right. I was going to say Michael Myers has been in some ropey shit, but not as much as Pinhead. You're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, well, Myers is my second. Myers sits second next to my heart after Freddy. So
right. So was that your the next big series you got into?
So that was my next big sort of. Okay, this guy's great and this is cool. And again, the 1970 as a younger man, the 1978 movie was all right. It's a bit dull, and there's not a lot going on. And then as you get older, you learn to appreciate the genius of John Carpenter and the tension that it builds. And it's a masterpiece.
It is.
I love the sequel. In the hospital.
I like the sequel.
The sequel in the hospital's great. It really is. Is it as good? No, of course not. I mean, the tension's been replaced with gore. You've got a grown man burning his hand for no reason in a hot tub, etc. But the end with the two shots in the eyes and so on is it's real solid stuff. It really is. So I think Michael probably is the second. Like I say, it's the second big one. It was the second big retrospective I did, and that was hard work because I set myself the target of 2 reviews a week.
That is a big target, especially when you're writing it. I mean, we do a bunch of reviews on The Movies Made Us Do It, but that's like a 2-hour podcast, and we just talk, and usually you're just winging it and talking through your memories with a couple of bullet points. When you're actually sitting down and scripting a review like that's a lot of work. 2 reviews a week, because you got to watch them as well. That's the other thing. Watching a movie to review it is a longer process than just watching a movie.
You can't go to yourself. Well, I've seen On Nightmare on Elm Street 50 times. I don't need to watch it to review it. No, you do. You have to, because
you do.
you're looking at it from a very different place. And of course, Halloween. You're right. It is. It's a mess. Let's be fair. It's time loops and all sorts. But also, we've had the later trilogy as well. So with the latest trilogy, I think there's like 13 movies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm watching 13 movies, typing up notes while I'm writing notes while I'm watching them. Then those notes get typed up into I wouldn't say a script or a template, but a rough idea.
Yeah.
And then from there, that gets typed up onto the computer, obviously, into the final version. Then it has to be proofread, etc., etc. Then it goes out, into the ether and does what it does. So yeah, 2 a week was in my head not a huge deal, but actually it is quite time consuming.
It is a lot. So are you keeping that up now? You're doing two a week?
No, wow. I am. Yeah. So I normally post on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and then again on a Friday or a Saturday.
Wow.
So I obviously try to. So for example, Evil Dead at the moment, Evil Dead 1 review came out on I want to say Saturday evening or Saturday sort of tea time, or something like that.
Yeah.
So Evil Dead Part 2 will probably go out this evening, maybe tomorrow. But that series has been typed up, watched, written. It's been done for about a month.
Yeah.
I'm always at least sort of, a week or two ahead. So by the time the 5 Evil Dead movies, so by the time the Evil Dead movies finish, that's going to take me into the end of September, give or take. By then, I will have the Maniac Cop series done, and then probably a couple of others as well that are just sort of either requests or stuff that I really want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm always a good couple of weeks, maybe even more ahead. But
you've still got to keep that pace, because otherwise you'll fall behind.
So. That remains to be seen over time. I mean, we'll see how long that lasts, but at the moment, I'm managing it relatively well. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We shall see.
So we talked quite a lot about your early horror roots with The Exorcist. In my opinion, is one of my top 5 favorite films of all time. I think it's fantastic. We talked a little bit about Nightmare on Elm Street, and then of course Hellraiser and Halloween. I'm just curious, modern horror. Any standouts for you in the last I don't know 5-10 years?
Yeah, well, as I said, I can obviously, like I said, I consume this stuff at quite a rate based on the reviews times. I have to. There isn't anything that Ty West does that I won't sit through. Yeah,
sure.
I love Ty West.
To be honest, I'll sit through most things, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
My tolerance. I noticed. I have this habit these days where I don't have much time, so if a movie's rubbish within 10 minutes, I'll just switch it off and watch something else, unless it's horror. And my tolerance for bad horror is like, it goes on forever. I'm like, no, even if it's bad, I'm going to probably watch it because, it's horror.
I'm right there with you. The amount of stuff I've put on and gone, this is going to be so bad and it's going to end exactly this way.
Yep, and you're right.
75 minutes later, you were correct, right down to the final. So, Per X and Pearl, I think X was probably the best horror movie of last year. Pearl, the follow-up, was just a beautiful piece of work. I'm not averse to the Hollywood machine by any means. I enjoyed Smile. I
thought Smile surprised me, actually. I really enjoyed Smile. Yeah. I wasn't expecting to like that as much as I did, for sure.
100%. I don't really have a quote-unquote fun genre. If I put something on, I like it.
It depends on my mood.
I quite like a lot of the Korean cinema and the Asian cinema and so on. Train to Busan, which I only saw.
Train to Busan was superb.
No, I only saw it about 6 months ago. Didn't see it. I don't know how it just sort of fell away, through the floorboards, and I didn't get to see it for a while. It's masterful.
Yeah, it's a wonderful film.
Yeah, really is. Absolutely. I mentioned I saw The Devil earlier. Ichi the Killer are all personal favorites. Tokyo Gore Police is a personal favorite.
Nice.
Even if you watch it today and you go, oh, this wasn't made for a lot of money, but it's the nostalgia.
Oh, dude, you say that. I was watching Uzumaki the other day.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, clearly really low budget and really weird. It's it's quite a weird manga to begin with, but it's a weird movie to watch. But the passion's there. It's got the artistic value is there, and that's all that really matters, regardless of the budget. I can look past a budget if it's well written or it's interesting.
I'm the same. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. But again, like I say, I'm not adverse to the Hollywood machine. I don't mind the Conjuring movies and that sort of stuff. They've all got
I like those, and like The Nun. I saw The Nun in the cinema with my ex, and it's like
I've not seen The Nun.
They're fun. I mean, they're all very much. You know what you're gonna get. It's all very much the same. The Conjuring movies have a template, and it works. Yeah, and they're gonna do that. They make
a fortune, don't they? They make a fortune.
Well, yes, they do.
They're made for about 10, 15 million, and they bring in sort of 70, 80, 90 plus.
Yeah, which is why you're always gonna have more Conjuring movies. But they are, they're fine. They're not what I would necessarily, watch on a daily basis or necessarily ever watch again once I've seen them. But they're fun to watch, and it's nice in this day and age. I find so often, especially around, they're so bad at releasing horror movies in the cinema in October when I really want to see horror movies. Yeah. I don't know why they shy away from that. Because for years, one of my favorite pastimes, as naff as the movies are, was the Paranormal Activity movies. Because they came out every Halloween, and I knew I had a movie to watch in the cinema at Halloween. That was fine.
It was the same with Saw for about 6 years.
Yes.
You had a Saw movie every Halloween for sort of 6, 7
so
years.
So you've got a Halloween movie. That's what I want. Yeah. Yep.
It's weird, isn't it? And then they wonder why they bomb in January or June or whatever the case may be. But yeah, the horror movies are fun. I've just recently done the 2 Terrifier movies.
I like them. I thought they're fun.
They're fun. They're not for everyone. I can fully understand that you have to park realism at the side and
sense. I mean, the second one just makes no sense at all. I don't even know what's happening in that film, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I love them both, and to watch them from a review point of view, and then write the review was probably the most fun.
Sure,
I've had doing this because they're wacky. I mean, I recently did the Puppet Master series, or some of the Puppet Master series.
That's pretty wacky.
And that's wacky. Thankfully, I can only find 3 of the movies. There's like 12 of them.
Jesus, I think I've only seen 2 of them. I didn't think I've even seen 3.
Yeah, there's 3. There's a trilogy which is on Shudder currently, which is where I got it. And then doing my research, there's 12 of them in total. Thankfully, I can't find those 12. So, because I could be the greatest reviewer of all time, but no one wants to read about 12 Puppet Master movies, and I don't want to watch 12 of them.
No.
You imagine that 3 was poor. 3 was so poor. After the niche, charming fun of 1 and 2, and the stop motion and the puppets and stuff, which are clearly the stars, 3 took a huge nosedive. And I was like, if this is what the next 8 are like or 9 are like, then it's probably a blessing.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same with a lot of series, though. I mean, like I was thinking the other day about Subspecies, and I was like, that first movie's all right.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And then after that, it very quickly starts, declining.
Yeah. One of the first requests I ever got, and I was in the middle of doing... What was I in the middle of doing? I think I was in the middle of doing Halloween at the time, and I was put on the page, if you've got requests, leave them in the link, and we'll get to them. I can't say when, but I'll get to them. And someone requested Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I was like, yeah, that's fine.
The original or the remake? Or
just the original, thankfully.
Good.
So I was like, that's fine, I've got it here. I can, because I try to only review what I own if I can, or if I can access something, if I can access it through streaming or whatever, So I know I've got it here. I've got a pretty decent, collection, as it were. So I watched it and reviewed it, and I was like, and it went over, and the guy was really happy with the review, and it did quite well, the interaction, etc., etc. And then I was like, maybe I should just catch up on the others because someone's bound to ask at some point. And thankfully, I didn't, because having seen them before, they're interesting. I think is probably the best way to put it. I think the third one is the one where you may be able to tell me if I'm wrong. The third one, I think, is the one with Bill Moseley in, where he's got the funny brain cap on.
You might be right.
That sounds familiar. The second one's the Garbage Day thing, isn't it? The greatest meme of all time. So, and I've seen these movies. Don't get me wrong, but I've not seen them through the house's eyes, as I call it.
Sure.
The house treatment. Yeah. That's my gimmick. People review stuff and we give it the house treatment. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but I thoroughly enjoy it, and I get to meet interesting people like yourself.
Yeah, man. Yeah. all of the weirdos of the internet.
Hey, we're all here together. We're all here for the same thing. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, it's. I will move into sort of. Well, I say I will move into the sort of predominantly newer and more modern stuff, but a lot of it comes down to what the people want, really.
Well, if you're getting requests, just give people what they want. We tend to find on the Movies Made Us Do It, we're reviewing movies every week, and I find like at this point in time, I much prefer we do week on, week off. So 1 week we will do all of the new stuff. So we've got 2 weeks to watch new stuff, and then we'll do a podcast episode where we talk about all the new films we've watched. And then we will do the following week a deep dive into an old movie that we both love. And I much prefer doing the old movies that we love, doing one movie, focusing on that rather than watching the new stuff. It's a taste thing, but for me, I much prefer going back than going forward. And I don't know if that's the same for you, but then, at the same time, if you're getting requests, that's great.
Yeah,
I'm really curious. Have you been in the position where someone has requested for you to review their baby, and you're like, "This film is shit"?
Not yet.
Or have you just been like, "Maybe I won't review that one"?
Not yet. It hasn't happened yet.
That's good. I imagine that's quite a difficult situation to be in.
Because again, you have to be completely honest in the process.
Well, yeah, there's no point in reviewing it if you're not going to be honest about it.
Exactly. The reviews are predominantly the ones you would expect, and I went. Yeah. So again, as I was saying, I had I think the review list at one point I had about 10 or so movies on there, and it was sort of things like let me think. Event Horizon, Near Dark.
Great. So it is mostly classics anyway.
Yeah, one guy has asked me to do Spider Baby, which I think is 1963.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Now I need to find that before I can do it. I know I've seen it.
I think that's public domain.
I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. I'm pretty sure you can find it.
I think it's public domain.
Yeah. Now I've seen that movie. I know I've seen it because the minute he said it, I knew exactly what it was talking about. But how long ago and how I felt about it is two very different things.
Yes.
So that's going to be interesting to see how it looks. I keep waiting for someone to ask for like Carnival of Souls, because that would it's just not that it's a bad film, but it's just going to be it's difficult to review, I think.
Yeah.
It's such a difficult one to review. But no, it hasn't happened yet. I'm sure it will. Because this is the thing, you post it, and I've got my, I want to say regulars to a degree that go.
But you probably know their taste by now, so you know they're going to probably be good films anyway. And
also, not intentionally, but I've got a format to a degree now. In that, so when I write again, it's not a script as such. It's just it's a set of bullet points and a bit here and a bit there. But by the time I've done my research and I've got it all typed up and it's all written up, ready to type onto the computer, I don't know if it's a natural thing or if it's something I've subconsciously worked at, but they're never more than 4 pages of A4.
That's a good practice to keep.
Now, I don't know how that's happened. I can't say I've done it intentionally.
It's a good practice, though. You don't want to go too crazy with your, I mean, I learned this with like scripts for film or for, series and stuff. When I've been asked to write things, you do you can't write a script that's like you could write a script this 400 pages long, but it's unshootable at that point.
And I think needs one Stephen King. There's only one. We only need one Stephen King.
Well, even then, they're adapted down to about 90 pages anyway. So
yeah, it's true.
But I do think it's good to have that limit, because it keeps you concise with your writing and it keeps your review. Because your reviews are very concise and to the point as well. There's no bloat or nonsense in there, which I really like.
No, I tried. Well, the thing is, because one, it's written obviously, so it has to stand out and people have to be interested.
Yeah.
But two, anyone, this is I sound really blasé and I don't mean it to, but anyone could go onto Wikipedia or IMDb and take the bulk of, take the skeleton of something and just go, well, that's, I could put that up and who's going to worry? What's the difference? But to make it your own,
it's not yours.
Your own spin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that. So it's like my scoring system. So
people are coming to you for your opinion. So,
yes, exactly. So you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And again, in the grand scheme of it, 800 something followers isn't big numbers.
That's great.
But for the time frame, it's not it's not bad.
In a year, it's really good. And also, I don't care. I'm just
No,
I'm just
exactly.
happy that anyone reads or watches our stuff.
Yeah.
It's great.
I'm with you. Like, this was never done. This was done as a passion project and
Absolutely.
nothing more. If I had 5 people interact with me a week, I'd be over the moon.
That's the thing.
So,
I mean, with the podcasts, movies made us do it. We're like, I mean, we have I have a radio background anyway, so I used to do radio with my co-host on that show, and then we just took it off, made a podcast. But I'm like, I don't go out anymore. I don't go to the pub or anything like that. So this podcast exists purely because this is the conversation I would have had with Matt down the pub. Now we're just doing it online, and I'm like, it's great that people want to listen to it, But even if one person or no one was listening, I'd still be doing them and posting them anyway because I enjoy talking to Matt about movies, and it's my excuse to do it. And you enjoy watching the process of watching, reviewing, and writing. And writing is what, like, for me, I don't know about you, writing is one of my favorite things to do. I mean, I love script writing. I love writing stories and stuff, and I quite enjoyed writing. I did write reviews briefly before I went into doing audio, but I find writing very relaxing. It's a nice process.
I agree. And it's a great way to just sort of like purge your head a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I find, like, I'd love to be able to draw. I'd love to be able to do this and that. I can't.
The drawing's the one, man. Drawing's the one I wish I could do. I wish so bad.
Yeah, but I can. I can put a review together. I can do a short story if you like. I can work on this and work on that. Is any of it ever going to help pay the mortgage? No, probably not. But
it's
not
fun.
The way to do it. Exactly. So with the score, so like I say, just trying to keep the review sort of more fun and more.
Yeah. So what is your scoring process?
I take the scoring process based on a very important part of the movie. So, for example, let me think. One I've done recently. So for Evil Dead, for example.
Yeah.
Evil Dead. Obviously, the most notorious part of Evil Dead is probably the branch rape scene.
Yes.
Probably. So
the first movie, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Can you imagine back in the day seeing that for the first time?
I remember seeing it for the first time, even not back in the day. In the 90s, I was like, my God.
Yeah, I know. That movie made $29 million.
Yeah, it cost about $5 to make.
Back then, not when $29 million wasn't, a deposit on a house.
Well, adjust that for inflation.
Oh, crazy!
That's insane.
Yeah, it's insane money. So the review, I work in a 5-star rating or a 5-point rating, and I do, half, so 1/2, 2 2/2, etc. So for spoilers for Evil Dead Part 1, I gave it 3.5. Randy branches out of 5. So
fair enough.
There you go. So I take something from the movie and do it that way.
Yeah.
Rather than just going, it gets 2 out of 5 from me, or goes, I recommend you watch this. It's something more of a spin. One, it shows. I think it's a bit more personal, but 2, it shows I've actually watched it.
Yes.
I've actually sat down and gone through these movies and gone, right, okay, that's quite clever. I can use that for, prime example. I love Event Horizon. I think Event Horizon.
I think Event Horizon is one of the most criminally overlooked movies,
and possibly the best Hellraiser sequel we never got.
Yeah. I mean, I to this day, I wish that one day someone would come along and be like, I have got the tapes of the cut version. I've got them. I'm pretty sure they're destroyed, but
they are.
I would love to see that
they were
cut.
Destroyed. Yeah. So for that, I gave Event Horizon 4 UCs out of 5.
Nice.
And obviously I typed it in like shouty, from there. But it's really interesting because as well, people learn from stuff. Like the amount of people that contact me and go, every now and then you do a movie and you say that it was credited to Alan Smithy. What does that mean? I'm like, oh no, you don't know what that means. And it's like, okay. And if people think you're lying when you explain it, the amount of times I've had to explain the Alan Smithy situation, and people go, no, come on, no, that's not. Look it up. Look up how many films you enjoyed it made by Alan Smithy.
Yeah,
but there's quite a few.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so I try to keep it personal, try to keep it concise, and again, try to keep it a little bit fun, because otherwise, if I was reading it, I want it to be quite funny at times, and and something a bit different. So that's the overall goal, and touch wood, it seems to be hitting home at the moment.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And long may it continue, you know. So,
absolutely,
but it's great fun. It is great fun. I do love doing it.
So where can people find you? Obviously, Facebook.
Yeah, so Facebook is where the main page is, the Hathway House of Horror. I have the corresponding Instagram page, which is the_Hathway_house_of_horror, because that was all they'd let me do.
Yeah.
And then I have the corresponding Twitter account as well, which is at THHOH.
I will put those in the description, by the way.
Thank you kindly. Facebook is the main one there, but so I use Instagram for sharing the posters and what's coming soon and what's coming next and what's live at the moment, and Twitter the same really. But the actual reviews themselves are the Hathway House of Horror on Facebook, and as I say, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, or Fridays and Saturdays. 2 out of those 4 days you will normally see something go up.
Sure. So two reviews a week that you can happily read on your commute to work.
Exactly. Yeah. You can go, well, let's see what this so-called average guy's thoughts are on the film that I adore, and hopefully you think I'm on the same page.
See if he's shitting on my favorite film.
Most people seem happy. So
well, that's good. Well, man, thanks for joining me on this. It's been fun.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
We'll catch up again in the near 100%. Future, no doubt. But yes, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next time.